I am super excited to welcome to our show a wonderful guest, Patrick Adler. He is the manager at the University of California Riverside Center of Economic Forecasting. He and his team are working with the city of San Bernardino on a downtown revitalization strategy for the city. He holds a PhD in urban planning from UCLA. And, there's been a lot of talk over the years about revitalizing San Bernardino's downtown. And the city is engaging in that work, and we really are hoping that they're able to make a go of it. Patrick Adler, welcome to the show.
So great to be here.
So tell me a little bit about how you became connected to the city of San Bernardino, how they engaged UCR's Center of Economic Forecasting for this downtown revitalization project.
Well, the UCR Center does a lot of economic development projects, which touch on development strategy and also regional analysis and also forecasting. And, we're huge boosters of the Inland Empire. And, over time, we've just been in conversation with the city and have actually, well before the project, been making the case that if there is to be a regional capital, like a capital of the Inland Empire, downtown San Bernardino is really well situated to be that. So this project is kind of coming to fruition of a lot of years of advocating that.
Well, that's wonderful. There are some beautiful spaces downtown. They need a facelift. They need a little TLC, but there's some beautiful old buildings in the downtown area, and some of them are just plain empty. I think of the Harris Building. I think of, some of the old Carlos O'Brien's, and that may not mean anything to you, that was on Court Street, 2-story restaurant. I used to go there in college. It was really fun, and it's a beautiful space. I don't know if anybody's in it now.
Yeah, and I think that's really the point. About a month ago, we had the opportunity to do an event at the Enterprise Building, and that's another gorgeous piece of architecture that actually has, with some local leadership, been able to fill up a little bit, but not quite enough of that activity is happening downtown. And, one of the things we focus on in our report and the research we've been doing is that it's the county seat, but there's just not enough lawyers, just bare bones, not enough lawyers working near the courthouse. So,
which is odd.
Very odd, right?
Yes.
But it's a lot of like this chicken and egg stuff. It's a lot of this, there's not enough people living downtown. There's not enough opportunities to live downtown because there's not enough jobs downtown, and there's maybe not enough jobs downtown because that's not where as many people live. And, you get into this rut where there's these two sides of this problem. And one of the big things that we're focusing on in this project is really figuring out both simultaneously.
So certainly, there is space to grow for if you wanted to open up a law office, and for your square footage costs in San Bernardino are going to be lower than in Riverside or Ontario or Rancho Cucamonga or other places in the Inland Empire, and you have access to the courthouse because it's right there, and county buildings and other things.
Definitely,
and it'll just take a few making that leap, so that others will be like, wow, I could be down there too. And then, and what does it take? And in your experience, and of course, obviously you don't know, nobody can predict the future. You're not Karnak the Magnificent for a very old Johnny Carson reference.
I got it.
So obviously you can't see in the future, but you could, what does it take? A really nice eatery downtown, a great coffee shop, a place where, that people they want to spend their time because, these lawyers, everybody finishes their workday, all the county offices, school district, and they leave. It's a ghost town at 5:15. And so what does it take to get people to stay?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a big believer in eateries and, maybe a little bit less of a believer in bars, but still a booster of bars. I'm a big believer in music venues. And, the city's doing this great work for the theater to bring that up to just a world-class level. And I think that's going to be great. But we like to think about first-order conditions. And we've considered these to be secondary conditions. The first order condition would be something like a private sector anchor. So it's really important to have the government down there. It's really important to have the courthouse. But if there's a private sector, large private sector employer, or large-ish private sector employer, something around the order of 500 jobs, then you suddenly aren't going to have everyone packing up to leave at 5 o'clock every day. A private sector, especially if it's from maybe information technology or some kind of producer services industry, the schedule is longer, and that's really good for the lifeblood of a downtown district. You want people downtown just getting off of work at 8, and if that's happening, then there's going to be more demand for those restaurants and theaters and so forth.
So we've seen banks. I mean, there is one bank that's downtown. Actually, there are several that are downtown, but they're branches. They have offices like off of Hospitality Lane or in other cities entirely. And, that might be, if we could create some incentives for them to move downtown, that would be fabulous. Banks, or if Esri had an office there, if Loma Linda had an office there, we have
absolutely
the fast, the bus that and I've just forgotten the name of it, that goes down, from Cal State. SBX goes from Cal State down, through down Hospitality Lane and then up to Loma Linda's campus. Something along that route, right down East Street that could bring people out. That would be fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things that we return to in this project is, there's some downtown revitalization effort where you're really trying to create, it's kind of a tough metaphor, but create new chairs on the deck of the ship. But there's a lot of chairs, like in the Inland Empire. There's a lot of current businesses. A lot of people live there. And so you're really kind of rearranging things. So, that's a little bit easier when you're talking to a world-leading organization like Esri saying, why don't we get you downtown, or some of these other organizations. I think it's there's a lot of room for optimism.
So, what if you put your businessman's hat on? If you were thinking about places to locate your business, and you're looking at various cities around. Obviously, you want you want an employment base. You want employees to be in the area that could come to work for you without without it being too difficult. San Bernardino has a university and a community college, and then small branch colleges like Azusa Pacific and some others that have campuses. They have vocational technical colleges in the city of San Bernardino. So in theory we have the labor kind of worked out, or we could. So let's talk about, why would somebody choose San Bernardino? The crime is a little higher, the streets are a little rougher, but there's opportunity and growth in an aging community. We've got examples all over the country where this has happened. What would you need as a company?
Well, I mean, I think the initial advantage, anytime you're talking about growing a downtown, or even if you're talking about a existing central city area like Manhattan, if you look at just the history of Manhattan as it goes through these periods of evolution, like maybe down periods, and then those lead to higher periods, there is this phase where the property values get low enough that some really interesting new things can happen. So new types of businesses can move in, or new types of people can move in. Mm-hmm. And so I think when you're talking about, some of the initial advantages downtown, you have to say that relative to Orange County or Los Angeles, there's just a lower cost of doing business. It's lower, it's cheaper to build the corporate headquarters of your dreams or something like that. I think this is really good if you're a new kind of operation and you want to do something new. You want to be in the city building business. The kind of lower cost doing business is going to help you out a lot.
So one thing that we don't have in the city of San Bernardino that I know of is a really vibrant co-working space. We have small business incubators that have offices in several different places, but we don't have a place where mom and pop kind of entrepreneurs can come together and essentially leverage the services, the funding that each one of them has for fast internet and access to printers and other things. Is that, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, is that something that helps a downtown area get to be exciting and get started?
I mean, absolutely. And I do have to, I'm going to sound like I'm a paid representative of the enterprise building, but there is an incubator there. I don't think it's like no one incubator is going to be able to do what you're pointing towards. And I think it's a really great point. And it's an even better point today when we're in the world of 3 day a week at the work office or one day a month at the office work schedules. You can kind of think through these sort of flexible arrangements more, where maybe you live in San Bernardino and your office is in Los Angeles, and you have to actually go there a few times a month, and then you just want some energy, a local office space near where you live. I think downtowns are going to have to increasingly think about how to do this kind of thing and do a lot less of traditional functions like retailing.
Right.
So it used to be that the department store was the center of energy and the kind of incubator for downtown. And now, a business incubator might sort of fulfill that role.
So the Enterprise Building, which for all the local yokels was once known as the Andreessen Building, is beautiful. It was built in the 1920s. There's all this, if I remember correctly, this wrought iron up that goes around the stairs and around kind of the downstairs is very beautiful, and the wrought iron railing kind of surrounds the stairs and the alcove area. It is a gorgeous building.
Yeah, I mean, you can't recreate some of this stuff, right? There's only so many cities that, let's say, in the 1940s had an architectural heritage, and San Bernardino is one of them. And there's a lot of places that would just kill to have these sorts of spaces. The great urbanist Jane Jacobs used to always say that great new ideas require old buildings, and so that's a really precious asset.
Interesting.
You can't create it in a lab.
So San Bernardino also has a long history of tearing down our beautiful buildings. And so I wish that we had more, but I think, that we should celebrate what we have left, because that is a beautiful building. And the Harris Building is also beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I think there is everyone I talk to really does cite this architectural identity as a key piece moving forward. I think that's great. I see no factories or parking lots or box hotels that are going to be trying to knock down these old buildings. But I think we should definitely recognize some of the lost opportunities there have been over the years.
So let's talk a little bit about walkable spaces, because you look at modern cities worldwide, and we've done some of this work. We have the SBX line, and for some people in the city, they didn't quite understand why that was important. But every major city in the world has either streetcars or buses or both that arrive and depart at very short intervals. And so I think I am a fan of that bus line, and I wish that we had more, because it encourages people. If it's convenient to take the bus, and parking is difficult, then you're going to take the bus, right? That's what people do all over the world.
Sure.
But also there should be walkable spaces and bike lanes and that sort of thing. Is that part of the discussion about what's going on downtown?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's so much of this chicken and egg stuff happening. And, certainly if we were to increase the residential density or the commercial density by a factor of 2 or 3, then we will have no choice but to have more more walkability downtown, because there's just going to be people needing to get around, and it will then be a little bit congested to drive around downtown, and so walkability is going to be necessary. But beyond that, there are some just things to think about to promote walkability. One such thing would be, there's this great transit center. It's a beautiful transit center. It has links to the rest of the IE, to Los Angeles. And it is theoretically, like I've done it myself, walkable, to City Hall and, the center of downtown. So just, facilitating that walkability link, I think, is really important. And then just having a kind of open mind, maybe making walkability itself a goal and not, minimizing traffic times through the downtown core. I think these are sorts of things that are important if we're going to get where we need to get downtown.
So I have to ask you about the 800-pound gorilla that is the Carousel Mall. Now, there have been over the years, there have been so many discussions about, what should be in that space. And for a long time, the idea would be something akin to not Waterman Gardens, that was a different thing, Victoria Gardens. So something akin to Victoria Gardens, where there's office space on the second floor, retail space on the first floor. There are apartments that are kind of intermixed for this real, who doesn't love Victoria Gardens? It's beautiful. But I've also seen, just mixed use apartments or, higher density housing, that creating, because 3rd Street punched right through the middle of the mall. And so, tear the mall down and have 3rd Street go to, go all the way to merge with 4th Street or something in a different place or a different way. What are some of the discussions that are being had now?
Well, I will say that the city has, they have an engagement with us, which is about these kind of broad-based strategic framework questions. And then they have this separate engagement to think about the master planning of that site. And, I'm a much better economist than I am a master planner. What I can say is that there's a real opportunity at the Carousel Mall site to inject a little bit of residential density downtown. And, we can just think just about the folks who already work downtown. And, some of these folks are maybe younger, or maybe they're empty nesters, or maybe they don't have children yet, and they would certainly entertain living downtown, but they don't perhaps have the opportunity to do so. So there is a chance to give those folks some housing, at least as part of this carousel development. And in doing that, you are creating just a lot of new density downtown. And for us, density is the key. So I think if some part of this development is set aside for housing, I think the downtown revitalization project will really be jump started.
Well, and I'm thinking about this. One of the things that we're talking about this at work today. It's very expensive to build new homes in California, and it's cost prohibitive to build small new homes in California. And the things that San Bernardino has are a lot of small homes that could be starter homes that need to be revitalized and renovated. But we could also, like you talked about, build high-end, higher density housing in the downtown area. When I say high end, I'm really trying to differentiate from what a lot of San Bernardino residents have. They were told they would get nice apartments and they turned out to be slums, and they just, that's so it makes people who've been here a while, and I've lived in the city since 1990. Yes. And so, that kind of makes me nervous. But if you look at how some other cities have done it, like Riverside, the Mission Inn area, there's all kinds of really fun upscale apartments in that area. And so, college students, like you said, upwardly mobile, people with no children, people who are downsizing, it's a great place for them. And then they can go to the California Theater or to the movie theater or to the restaurants that will inevitably pop up.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, we talk about anchors on the commercial side, but this would be an anchor on the residential side where, you need a grocery store, you need things to do, And if you live in an area, it doesn't matter if it's a suburban area or an urban area. And so, that anchor is going to create a lot of local demand. Another thing it does, and you did mention public safety earlier, is it puts these eyes on the street, which are really important for improving the public safety atmosphere. If there's more people later at night, it's going to be a safer environment.
Think about how changing the way a community interacts with the people who live in a community interact with the space and with each other. You think about New York and where it was before the 90s and afterwards. Hell's Kitchen is apparently not Hell's Kitchen anymore. It used to be awful. It was called Hell's Kitchen for a reason. But this begs the question here in San Bernardino and lots of places in California, does any of this do any of these discussions, is homelessness talked about in any of these discussions?
No, absolutely, it is. And, so much of this project runs into the kind of statewide housing crisis that we have.
Yep.
And so many of these issues are so interconnected. So you say it's hard to build housing in San Bernardino and in California generally, and this is not unrelated to the homelessness crisis, and it's not unrelated to why previous downtown revitalization efforts maybe didn't quite get off the ground. So, we don't really lose sight of that. Like, we're big believers that you have to make it easier to build in this state, and that a lot of pressure can be brought from local communities who are really struggling with the effects of the housing crisis here. And then, on the other side, it's like, if an area tends to be appropriated as a space, for informal housing, then that's really a reflection that the highest and best use of a space is not being realized. So it's both a symptom and something that stems from some deeper problems downtown.
So, and we have about 4 minutes left, and and this has been great, and I want to have you back on, as these projects and processes move forward. Let's talk about how the community can get involved, because all of the planning is not going to go anywhere if the people around this, people in the city and people who use the downtown aren't involved in the discussions, because you want them to own it, you want them to love it, you want them to connect with it, and be in and use the space. So how are they being engaged?
Well, this is something that's being led by the city in conjunction with the city council. And I know for a fact I've talked to most of the city councilors, and they are interested in this project, but they're also very receptive to what the community wants for a downtown. I think a big theme of any downtown revitalization plan is that there might be one or two city councilors who physically oversee the downtown area, but the downtown is a asset for the entire community. And so I think just a kind of normal governance channel is going to be really important. Like, get in touch with your city councilor and talk to them about what kind of vision you have for the community. I would also say that some of the leaders in this movement, and I'm going to say this larger movement, not just the project that I'm involved in, are community members themselves. So like food festival or art walk, there are community-led events that are going on downtown, and I think getting involved in those is going to be really, really important.
Well, I agree. And Uplift San Bernardino, of course, is just one part of that, and all of the partners. So you mentioned the Art Walk. We have the Arts Connection, who's been engaged. I love that they're doing the food festivals downtown, and just that there are people who love the city and they want it to do well and they want their kids to stay and grow up there and raise their families there and buy houses, which is really aligned with what Uplift San Bernardino is trying to do. So Patrick Adler, it has been a joy talking with you today. Can you let people know how they can find out more about the UCR Center for Economic Forecasting?
So we have a website, and if you just Google, I don't actually have the.
That's okay.
Let me see if I. Okay.
It's all right. It's okay. Yeah. I put you on the spot. I didn't tell you I was going to do that.
I mean, I'm so used. I'm basically like a cyborg. I'm used to just copying and pasting our URL. But if you just Google UCR Forecasting Center, you'll find us.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, like I said, for joining me today, and I hope that you join us again with a progress report. This has been terrific and really helps me to understand kind of how things are moving forward. So I know our listeners feel the same way.
Thanks for the opportunity, Erin. Great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you. So we are about out of time. I say we, me and the mouse in my pocket. And this has been great. I love hearing about good things in the city of San Bernardino. My husband and I, like I said in the intro, that you hear every episode, I love it here. I raise my children here. I live here. I work here. My husband works all the way over in Rialto. So he didn't go far either. I've been consistently blown away at how amazing our young people are, and I want them to stay. So let's work together and create an environment where they can thrive and put down roots in the city of San Bernardino. So we're about the end of our show for today. I'm Erin Brinker. This is the Uplift San Bernardino radio show. We'll talk to you next Tuesday on KCAA. Have a great week.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The CDC is putting out a new eviction moratorium as the Delta variant of coronavirus spreads across